All right. Hello. hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Alex. This is my best friend, Andrew. And
Hey guys.
we are going to discuss uh, issues and current events that could possibly lead to World War III. I mean, listen, we don't want World War III. We're not advocating for any wars or civil wars or world wars. Andrew, do you want a war?
Of course not, man.
Okay,
He does.
exactly. But these are just going to be live streams. We are working on a schedule, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to discuss current events and current issues that could possibly lead or just somehow affect World War III. Andrew, you want to give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So I've been on some of these streams, more than a handful, I guess, like over
Yep.
the past 2 years or so. So if you watch Ali's channel, you probably see me on here. But I guess my background is at least politically. I got into politics maybe 2000 around Obama's inauguration back in 2012, and basically just studied from there and got interested in it. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about me. That's about it, I guess.
Yes, no, that's perfect. And also, Andrew's one of the smartest people I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Now, this actually, these are possible events that could actually start major conflicts. Every little tiny map or country you see in this list.
Except China, the whole country of China.
Well, no, let me tell you actually, these are states with limited recognition, meaning not every country in the world agrees that that is actually a country. Okay.
I assume by the UN, right? Like limited recognition by the UN.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've had this map for, I believe, 7 or 8 months. So I had this map for a long time. And so look at this. Right now, the war that's happening in Ukraine is literally because of these two.
Yeah. It's Donbass, yeah.
Exactly.
Or Donetsk.
Exactly. So and this is one of the reasons I wanted to have this live stream for a long time, is because, first of all, I don't think I'm a genius, but I understand a thing or two. And one of the things is, if these lands are not fully recognized by every country, that means there's going to be a war. Obviously, one day there will be a war because of these. So this is the Donbass, which right now this was the first thing. Taiwan and China, both of these are not fully recognized by every country. These could definitely end up in a war. North and South Korea, they're not recognized by everybody. Again, those could end up in a war. And Israel, look at this, Israel, Palestine, again, not fully recognized by everybody. Those could end up in a war. Okay. Well, I want to actually, Andrew, I want everybody to know Andrew was not prepared for this, but I want to put Andrew on the spot and say, Andrew, which one of these do you think is most likely to end up in a war?
Well, there's one going on right now.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Good job. He's right. Andrew's right. Good job. See, this is why he's so smart. Okay, so besides the obvious, which one do you
think? Well,
don't forget, this is also
like between those three or everything, because you have everything. You have. I'm assuming that part in Europe is, well, not that. I don't know. I don't actually know what that.
This is Transnistria. It's a part of Moldova.
Okay. And then the other that down there would be
Kosovo.
Yeah, Kosovo. I was gonna say, yeah. And then the ones in Africa, I'm not like super familiar with either, to be honest.
This, I believe, this is a part of Somalia that is splitting, and it's Somaliland, very original land.
And then, what are the different colors? So, like, why is that red and the other one orange?
See, that is a really good question. And somebody who's really smart and would have prepared ahead of time could answer that question. But unfortunately, we don't exist in a world like that.
Yeah, I mean, of the three that were listed, I'd definitely say Taiwan. I mean, I'm surprised China hasn't pounced on Taiwan by now.
Oh, actually, wait, I just noticed a pattern. Orange, 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 orange. I'm guessing these are literally Russian supported separatists. That's actually a really good guess because this is literally Russia supported separatists. Obviously, Russia does not want Taiwan, so obviously Russia wants this. So I think, oh no, maybe it's a Russo-Chinese thing or Sino-Rus. You know that word?
Like Sino-Russian, yeah. But yeah, I'm confused as to why like Taiwan is orange and Donbass is orange. But yeah, I mean, I guess like probably Taiwan of like future wars that are going to break out, right? Or potentially. Like I said, I'm surprised like China hasn't made a move on Taiwan in the last 2 months with how crazy everything's been in Ukraine.
Exactly. And you know what's funny is that obviously I don't
especially
want
considering the fact that there's been no official declaration from the United States saying Taiwan will be defended, right?
Yeah, there's been talk. There's been like, we're gonna defend Taiwan. We'd like to but there's no official. There's a difference between talks and declaration.
Well,
Like,
right, that's my point.
Yeah, like Trump made a lot of talks, but he didn't officially declare anything on anybody. You know what I mean? He talked a lot.
There was, well, yeah, I mean, even like with the DMZ. Wait, what is the 12th parallel? North Korea, South Korea. Like Trump did make statements regarding that, basically saying, if North Korea attacks, moves one toe past the parallel, then they're going to get firebombed or something to that effect. But like he never made any official declarations, right?
Well, here's the funny part: is didn't Obama back in 2013 make similar about Crimea? He said if anyone touches it, we're going to war, and they did nothing. Crimea ended up just getting taken by Russia, no problem.
That's right.
But yeah, but obviously, out of Obama and Trump, which one is more likely to fall through? I mean, Trump literally killed Iran's head general as soon as he stepped out of Iran. Bam. So yeah, you could see who does what. But yeah, so basically, what I see is kind of so the orange could be kind of a Russo-Chinese thing. Now, when it comes to the red, this I think is a pure Russian thing. Because look at this. This is a place called Transnistria. It's a tiny part of Moldova. And a little bit of a scary fact, Moldova is not part of NATO. So realistically, Russia could attack Moldova. And just so you know, personally, I think out of all these scenarios, this is the most likely, and then Taiwan is probably second place. I mean, if you ask me this,
if Putin continues to expand,
yeah, you're right. So it all depends. I mean,
looking less and less likely by the day, honestly.
Well, this is the interesting thing. I want you to do me another favor. Is that which of these do you think is the most likely of the future of this conflict? I want you to think about it, and I want you to read these out loud. I need to get something. It'll take literally 10 seconds. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Liberated LDPR. Well, I don't see the first one being likely. Probably like the second or the third one.
Did you read all 6 of them?
Yeah.
Which one do you think? From the left to the right?
Probably like the middle one on the left, or maybe the bottom one on the left.
Landlocked Russian.
Landlocked, yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
But it could be the LDPR as well. We'll see. I mean, it really depends on like what basically. So in Russia, right? This isn't a war. This is a special military operation, right? And
Yes, I'm glad you said according to Russia. I'm glad you didn't go
Right.
like.
And the military is sort of treating it that way. So I don't personally think that Russia is, sending the majority of its military force into Ukraine currently, right? Like, yes, there's an invasion going on, of course.
Yeah,
Are there millions of Russian troops in Ukraine? No. You
no,
know, are they absolutely, carpet bombing the shit out of the country?
no.
Not really, right? So do I think do I think that if Putin wants to scale this up to a full scale conflict invasion level, um, these maps could look a lot different. Do I see that as being realistic? Probably not.
Well, see, this is the funny part. Is that do you? How well do you remember the Iraq invasion?
I mean, that was pretty early. Well, actually, reasonably well. Reasonably well.
Wouldn't you argue U.S. invading Iraq is a fair comparison to Russia and Ukraine?
I mean, obviously, they're very different geographically, right? There's different demands and challenges when it comes to actually rolling heavy infantry and things of that nature into the country, right? That's probably easier to do in Iraq. However, Iraq is, well, I'm thinking more Afghanistan being very mountainous and whatnot, but
Yeah, no,
Iraq
that's why I
is
said Iraq. Yeah.
right. Iraq is mostly desert, so like in terms of like rolling infantry and tanks and everything, all the equipment that you need into the country, it's probably easier in Iraq than it is in Ukraine, especially in the spring. Ukraine is very, very muddy, like heavy tanks and stuff get stuck in the mud and the going is very, very slow. So honestly, like geographically, I think Ukraine is probably harder to invade than Iraq is. But in terms of like the military strength and the opposition they're facing, yeah, it's probably relatively similar.
Well, this is the funny part. I was going to say that I actually am the opposite of you. I would say Iraq, in some ways, was harder because Russia is borders Ukraine. The main Russian army is like 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers away from Ukraine.
That is true. That is true. Yeah,
Well,
because they
America
had
had
to
to bring
airlift
it
a
all the
bunch
way.
of stuff into Iraq. Yeah, like most of it was airlifted in on C-137s and that kind of thing, right?
Exactly, exactly. Now, wait. Speaking of which, we have a comment. I want to quickly just go to Dr. Airsoft. Very good to see you. Long time no see. I'm actually gonna do something a little bit risky, but I'm gonna put a invite to the StreamYard if somebody wants to join the actual live stream.
Why not?
Yeah, they are very welcome to join us. And no, listen, World War III did not start over Ukraine at all, thank God. And I can promise you it's not going to start over Ukraine. You have to understand even war has rules. Okay, you can't just do whatever you want. And right now, there is a web of alliances that exist in the world that if these countries are invaded, that could start a major global conflict.
Yeah, basically, if Putin continues to expand and pushes this into an all-out conflict, NATO is going to Article 5 his ass. And Russia goes bye-bye.
Exactly. Exactly. There is, and that's I actually get so mad at the hysteria. And of all people that what's called told me about this was actually a coworker of mine who's Iranian, and he said that his close cousin or something was in the Iranian military, and he said that they were doing scout missions close to the U.S. Or not U.S. Iran-Canada border, or Iran-Iraq border. Sorry. Okay. And he said what he saw, what the U.S. military did, was terrifying. Like he said that he would see the Iraqis had a bunch of their tanks and helicopters, and he told me there was like a explosion of some sort that didn't kill anybody. It was just a. I'm guessing it was. I'm guessing it was an EMP. And then he said that the tanks were all like swerving and the helicopters were like confused. And then the U.S. military just came, took them all out.
That's crazy.
Like, holy, yeah. And he was like, "Oh my god, America!"
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm saying. Like militarily, or not military. Sorry, like technologically, the U.S. military is leagues beyond Russia or China, right? Like China's close, but it's not even really a competition.
Wait, yeah, no, there's no competition, and that's the funny part is, I'm actually glad there was like one of my favorite YouTubers was or is What a Fault Is, and even he said like he's surprised that Russia. It's been months. He expected Russia to take them out in 2 weeks. U.S. took out Iraq in 10 days.
That's what everybody thought. Everybody was like, "Oh well, Ukraine's done," you know.
Yeah,
and it's I don't really think it's so much. Obviously, you know, like my heart goes out to the Ukrainians. They're fighting for their country and whatnot, and obviously they're doing a reasonably good job of it. Yep. But I think it's probably due more to factors on the Russian side rather than the Ukrainian side, if that makes sense. I think it's probably a combination of the fact that Russia is not really treating this as a war per se, and also that Russia's military has obviously proven itself to be relatively ineffectual when it comes to seizing land, right?
Yeah, and actually, this is kind of an issue with dictators in general, because one thing that I've heard, and I have pretty reliable sources, is that Putin kind of made the same mistake as Stalin and Hitler did, where he took out a lot of his good generals. Actually, I don't think Hitler did that. Surprisingly, I think mainly Stalin did that. So, because again, any dictator is afraid of a coup, he took out a lot of his influential generals. So there's a lot of weak and inexperienced generals and soldiers in the army.
Because he can control them, right? Like it's anyone who dissents against the state, well, you're gone, you know, but that's the people you need. Yeah, that's actually, that's a good point.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of this, and it's beauty of most of the Western countries, is I think something is way more effective if there's trust and objectivity. Like, honestly, let's just take my friendship with Andrew. Andrew has the password to my server. Andrew has the password to the main account. He could destroy it, but he doesn't. In fact, we work together. Look at this. We're doing a live stream, and I hope he comes every week. But again, it's a based on trust. It's not based on, yo, Andrew's a really smart guy. You know, I'm scared he might take the members from my server. Like, no, I actually think of it, you know what? I hope he brings more members. And together we can build a bigger server, bigger live stream. I don't look at it as a threat. I see it as a cooperation. While Putin, maybe, he sees it as a threat that somebody else could usurp him. Wait, one second. Wait,
this comment really quick, though. So, Airsoft here says, Putin is not a dictator, though. Ali, I like you, but you are not acting like I used to know you as. That's an interesting comment. So it depends on, I guess it depends on how you define dictator. He's pretty close. I mean, he's the leader of a literal oligarchy, which is what Russia is. Putin is essentially, I mean, no, he's not like a supreme leader of Russia, but there's no one Putin answers to. You know, if Putin wants to do something or fund something or fund something or start a war, he's going to do it. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, functionally, it's essentially a dictatorship. Yes.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe we should have specified. We don't want a war with Russia. Just so you know, we don't believe, like, we respect Ukrainians, but we don't believe that Westerners should die for Ukraine.
Of course not.
So yeah. In fact, when it comes to the aid, I don't know how the aid is going there, but I don't even think we should give them free aid. Like unless we're selling or loaning them weapons. How do you feel about the aid?
It's kind of a touchy subject. Like, so when Zelensky asked for like send us planes and everything, like he wanted actual military hardware from the US.
Was he going to pay for it?
I mean, about the specifics of it, I'm not sure. Probably not, but maybe. But anyway, he was asking for like send us planes, like establish a no-fly zone kind of thing, right?
Okay.
And which I was very much against, and I'm very glad that the Biden administration did not follow through with that.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to like sending aid, and I mean we're sending Ukraine arms too, like absolutely we are. I'm not totally against it. I mean, like if we can supply, military aid in the form of, firearms and things like that without taking direct, anti-Russia military action, which is what a no-fly zone would be. There's a big difference between sending arms and military, aid money to Ukraine to help the Ukrainians fight this war against Russia and actually establishing an American presence in the region, right? Those are two very different things. So, yes. I don't know. I mean, I'm not totally against it, because if we can basically make Putin waste a bunch of time and money on this war, it weakens Russia and it strengthens the West, right?
Yeah, that is true. But to me, as long as again it's a sale or a loan, so maybe I'm not as pro. Like if this was Taiwan, I would say let's go all in. But yeah, I guess I'm less pro Ukraine. But either way, no, I think Dr. Airsoft, we none of us think that any Westerner should die for Ukraine. If that's what you think, because I think he says like I used to be more anti-establishment. I guess I'm still anti-establishment. So nothing changed. I don't support this war. I don't believe we should get involved. Again, unless they touch NATO. If they even sneeze at Poland, but fuck them.
Well, I mean, it's deeper than that, right? Like we have there's an international like burden of defense when it comes to NATO, right? Like if a NATO country's attacked, we're pledged to defend that country, right? Like this is one of the strongest like international agreements on the world stage. So
yeah, and rightfully so. Because to me, if anything, if we don't follow through on this is disgusting. Like,
well, NATO. That's the thing. NATO falls apart if a NATO country is hit, and the U.S. doesn't defend that country or send troops in and abide by the rules of NATO, NATO falls apart. The whole point of NATO is that is collective defense, right? So if you don't follow through on collective defense, then what is NATO is meaningless, right?
Exactly. This is why I you know what's funny? I've seen everybody on all sides of the political aisle agree that again, as long as they don't touch NATO, whatever. That's it.
It's like basically Tulsi Gabbard's stance, and I agree with it.
Oh yeah, God bless that woman. Okay, so now here's the thing. I just randomly took the first map I could find. It says the war so far. Is it possible for Biden administration to declare a no-fly zone west of this river? Meaning,
west. What's the name of that river again? It's what separates like eastern and western Ukraine, essentially.
Exactly. Whatever this river is called. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of. I just want to say, like, west of that river, is it possible to declare a no-fly zone? I think it is, and if the most effective thing is like I could say, listen, give Russia 1 week to leave, and anything west of this river is not allowed to be touched.
No, I wouldn't agree with that at all. Why would that's still Ukraine? Why are we establishing no-fly zones over Ukraine? That's a complete waste of time.
I mean, yeah, I get that. But I'm saying, like, if you want, because there's a lot of people that are advocating for no-fly zones, particularly on the
I
left,
mean,
which
yeah.
is hilarious because the left used to be the party of anti-war. I don't know what happened. But it's called the Dnipro Ripper, by the way.
Yeah. I don't think that's how you pronounce it, but yeah.
Yeah, yes. So either way, I was gonna say, like, if you want some sort of practical thing, you could argue for this. But yeah, you're right. Even that's a bad idea because it just was like Moldova is not part of NATO.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, obviously west of Ukraine, there's NATO countries.
Well, Moldova is not. It's only Poland and Romania are, but Moldova's not.
No, Moldova isn't. But I don't support any no-fly zones in Ukraine. Period.
Okay.
And this, like, I mean, I will say this. Not that I necessarily believe it, but the Russian, administration, Putin's administration, has said multiple times that they're not interested in Western Ukraine, Western Ukraine. And so far as I know, and I guess I could be wrong on this, Russia hasn't really pushed into Western Ukraine. Like Liev hasn't really seen too much.
Where's Liev?
Western Ukraine. It's where the U.S. embassy was moved.
Oh, okay. I can't see it on this map, but maybe. Oh, Liviska. Maybe it's this.
It's in that province, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm guessing it's it. Okay, so first of all, that itself is a big move. Putting the U.S. embassy there is pretty much saying, like, yo, if this embassy gets touched,
well, they moved the embassy there prior to this war even starting.
Right. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. But I'm saying, like, you do agree if the U.S. embassy or any NATO embassy gets attacked, that's a call to, like, that's the same as attacking the land.
Well, essentially, yeah, because this is why, like, you have to physically go through customs when you go into another embassy, because it's actually owned land of another country, like it's sovereign land of another country.
Exactly.
But we'll see. I mean, I have my serious doubts that Putin will push that far, considering how costly and long this war has been and is taking right now. I mean, it's going to take some serious manpower to push that far into Ukraine.
Yeah, good point. But either way, this map and a lot of these maps, I'm gonna put these on the server in a part of the server called news. Just so people, maybe I'll make it a thread, just called WW3, so people can see these. You guys can join the server and check these out. I'm also going to put any links of Andrew's that he wants to share, because Andrew says he might one day just do a solo podcast or something. I'll put those. You guys can follow him. And yeah, we're definitely going to keep. We're going to keep a closer eye on this, and we're going to talk more about this in the future. Right now, I want to get something else. You're back to the actual map. You said in terms of the most likely outcome. What do you say? Okay, you said it's a Russian victory.
My guess is probably the second or the third one. Yeah, being on the left hand side.
Okay, so that's more of a Russian victory.
Right, sure. I mean, yeah, Russia's ineffectual, but they're still Russia versus Ukraine, right?
Yeah. You're right. The funny thing is, I mean, I personally, see any of these three happening. You pretty much, I mean, this is the top of the left. This is the best case scenario for Russia.
Of course.
Is a complete decisive victory. landlocked. This is also, I mean, this cuts Ukraine from any ocean or body of water.
Right.
And also, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if in the future they decide that Transnistria should be a part of Russia in the future. Because this little part is part of Moldova, and Moldova is not a part of NATO. And there's actually a heavy Russian population here that actually supports Putin.
Well,
So
then,
this
yeah, but that's the same justification that he used for Crimea in 2014.
exactly. So yeah, but now again, either way, for both of these, Andrew and I both agree, like we should not get the West should not be involved. Now, speaking of the West,
Oh, excuse me.
this is a big alliance map. If you attack any of these countries, you will trigger a multi alliance war. So any of the red countries is part of NATO. So if you that's Article 5, and this is Finland and Sweden are part of the EU Article 42. This has never been used in history, but the European Union actually does have a defense treaty as well. So technically, attacking these two will have to respond a complete response by the EU.
Yeah, and that's exactly why Zelensky pushed to try to get into the EU.
Exactly. But here's one thing though. So God forbid if Russia decides to pull another Finland war, the last one went so well. Honestly, for anyone that doesn't get that, it was one of the most embarrassing things ever. The fact that the Soviet Union could not take down Finland. Here's what Andrew thinks. If Russia touches Finland, it triggers Article 42, which gets all of the European Union involved. If that gets Norway involved, does that mean NATO would also have to trigger Article 5?
I mean, essentially at that point, you're talking World War III, right?
Well, that's my thing. If Turkey is a part of NATO, if Turkey decides to randomly have a war with Iraq, which, trust me, you should never rule that out. This is an offensive war. It doesn't that not trigger Article 5? Because if a country in NATO is attacking another country, doesn't that not trigger Article 5? Because this is an offense, not a defense.
I believe so, although I'm not completely sure, but I believe that's correct. Yeah, because the point of Article 5 is is collective defense, right? Not so
Right.
much like helping other countries wage their own offensive wars, right?
Exactly. So, what is that? Then but this is where alliances tangle with other alliances. If Russia invades Finland and Sweden, and it triggers a response from EU, and most of the EU is part of NATO, Russia versus NATO, doesn't that trigger a NATO thing, or no? It's because this is a Finland war. It's not a NATO war.
Well, Finland isn't part of NATO, so
I know, but all these other countries are, and
yeah, but I think unless those other countries get directly attacked, then NATO probably wouldn't be involved in that.
Interesting. Well, speaking of more stuff, there's an ANZUS treaty with US, Australia, New Zealand. Obviously, I don't think these countries are attacking soon. There's apparently a US Philippines treaty.
Yep.
Which means they're defended. There's a US Japan treaty, which means they're defended. There's a US South Korea treaty. They're going to, and then what is this? Andrew, what country is this?
Taiwan.
Sorry?
Taiwan.
Taiwan. What color is Taiwan on this map, Andrew?
I don't know. I'm colorblind. No, just kidding.
Andrew, what color is this?
Bro, I can, everybody can see the stream, bro.
I'm trying to be effective, okay? Just say white.
Well, it's kind of grayish actually.
Okay, great. Taiwan is gray, which means there is actually no treaty obligation for America to defend it. Actually, there's no treaty obligation for any country to defend this.
I mean, yeah, we
Uh,
like went through that, but yeah, I mean that was the point. That's what I said. There's no like formal declaration or treaty when it comes to defending Taiwan.
exactly. So this is the scary part to me. Is where we're not obligated to defend Taiwan. Okay. And this is where you split a lot. Like when it comes to Ukraine, majority of right wingers and libertarians are against Ukraine getting defended. But Taiwan, this is where things get really interesting. I think you and I both have a more sympathy for Taiwan. Do we not?
Um, in some ways, yes. I think you're more like pro defense of Taiwan than I am,
You're right. I am.
but I think that there's good reasons to defend Taiwan outside of that they're pro West, right?
Yep.
I don't consider that a good enough reason, but I think there are good reasons. For example, Taiwan produces most of the world's and specifically America's semiconductors, and we need those. So that might be a good reason to defend Taiwan, among others. That's a good one that I could think of off the top of my head.
Well, that's the thing. The Taiwan issue, if we call it that, it's going to affect. Okay, first of all, can you explain to people who don't know what is a semiconductor?
What is a semiconductor?
Yes, sir.
A semiconductor is a part that's used in virtually all like computer hardware, and you need it to make chips for cars. You need it to make graphics cards. You need it to make like virtually any kind of processor, right? So, and Taiwan is the world's number one producer of semiconductors. I mean, TSMC is a Taiwanese-based company, and they're the world's number one producers of these things. So, yeah, I mean, essentially, that's like, do I want to describe what a semiconductor is
No, it's fine. It's fine.
in
So
depth?
that's
Not really.
well, no, that's my point. Is that so? This is kind of going to be one of those things. It's an Iraq War 2.0 because first of all, I don't think I can debate anybody on this. Which U.S. didn't invade Iraq to steal their oil. The U.S. invaded Iraq because they wanted to secure their oil trades. They didn't go there to let's go to Iraq, let's conquer them and take all their oil. That's not at all what happened. And Taiwan seems like it's going to be another one of those wars where no, let's defend Taiwan to secure the trade of semiconductors with Taiwan.
And
Am I right?
virtually, and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of things America gets from Taiwan other than just semiconductors, right?
Exactly.
I mean, there's
So,
a ton of consumer goods that are produced in Taiwan for America, for example.
exactly. So we're gonna do this. Okay, so we're gonna do this live stream every week, uh, somewhere between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll look at these maps once more, and we'll keep a close eye on the actual thing of Ukraine. I want to say it'd be kind of funny if World War III actually does start in the middle of us doing live streams every week.
That would be horrible.
It would be horrible, but it wouldn't be impossible. Am I wrong? Or it wouldn't be impossible.
Nothing's impossible.
Exactly. Speaking of impossible, I want to finish off with this. Realistically, if there's a World War III,
This is the
technically,
UN vote, right?
yes. So realistically, if there's God forbid a World War III, the purple have already said they've condemned Russia. They said this is wrong, this is evil. The black have abstained, and the orange actually said no. Russia's doing is good.
Look at just China and Russia completely surrounded from all sides.
Yep. So this is where it gets
although some of those countries, wait, the purple is the. Can you zoom out so I can see the ledger? Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, abstain. No, yeah. Yeah, some of those purple countries in like Southeast Asia would likely side with China or be like assuming an all-out World War III scenario, right? Would probably either side with China or just be ran over almost immediately and have no choice, and their countries would just be co-opted as part of the Chinese invasion force of India, right? But yeah, other than that, I'd say this is pretty accurate.
Well, yeah, exactly. So this is where it gets interesting. This is though the abstination versus actual sanctions, because here, while we do see that, let me zoom in on the Middle East, for example.
Yeah, the sanctions map would look a little different, but
very different. Because here's the thing: Syria has actually voted in favor of Russia. Said what they're doing is very justified, and some of them are saying it's good,
which is not surprising at all.
Right. And this is West Bank. Some people call this Palestine. They've pretty much abstained. It's white. So the white countries, I think, are still thinking of voting. I don't know what's going on with the white countries. But Israel is purple, Jordan is purple, Saudi Arabia is purple, Turkey's purple. You see, there's a lot of purple countries. Sanction, ban.
Yeah.
All of Africa and all of South America. That's not sanctioned at all.
I mean, you could turn India probably green in this case.
They haven't sanctioned. They haven't sanctioned at
no,
all.
No, I'm talking about like looking at this as a like who sides with who in a World War III scenario. Obviously, India would probably be likely. I mean, this isn't for sure, but likely green. The only reason that India didn't sanction Russia is because India needs Russia specifically because America stopped exporting oil, right? So where are they going to get their oil? They got to get it from somewhere.
Yeah. And
but
this is what I mean,
that's a lot different. But international trade is a lot different than fully siding with Russia or China in a war scenario, right?
Well, exactly. This is the map. If you remember, you and I made.
Right. Yeah. This is the one.
Yeah. So, and you know what? We're going to update this. If I could make this a live file that could be updated every day, I would. But yeah, so this is the most realistic World War III scenario. With the dark blue being, very committed for West, light blue being most likely committed, and the lightest blue just being confused. Like, for example, Libya is one of those countries that is very undecided. I wouldn't be surprised if Libya just sits out.
Yeah, I mean, all three scenarios are on the table, right? Like pro-West, pro-East, or neutral.
Exactly. And what's funny is that there's a very high scenario where Libya and Egypt and Saudi Arabia just completely set out. Africa and Middle East, with the exception of Iran, Israel, Syria, like with literally the north of the Middle East will be involved, but the south part of the Middle East could very well just sit out and say, yeah, this is not part of our work.
Right.
Yeah, literally all of Africa.
This is such a great map.
And I'm proud of us. And we will update this every week. We will update these as much as we can. Not a lot of things have changed so far. But we'll see. I mean, personally, one thing that has changed for me is because of Brazil's Rio Treaty. I wasn't aware of that there is a Rio Treaty with all of U.S. and all of the South America except for Venezuela, which means if Brazil ever is invaded,
that treaty include defense?
It's a defensive treaty, which means so if Brazil's invaded, U.S. has their back. So to me, I know when it comes to Russia, Brazil has pretty much sat out and not sanctioned or anything. But when it comes to other bigger threats, I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I think they would definitely be on Western side.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Then it comes to the Indian question. And Thailand, oh god, Thailand is, we have no, it could be anywhere. Thailand could join either side, and it's in such a scary place where you have a bunch of Western allies here, but you also,
I mean, even I don't know. I think there's like some inconsistencies though. Like I don't know if I would put Vietnam as a dark blue. They're a strong trading partner of the United States, but there's still some anti-Western sentiment in Taiwan. I mean,
Taiwan.
or not in Taiwan. Sorry, in Vietnam. My bad.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah.
But yeah, I would probably put Vietnam as more of a lighter blue, similar to like Saudi Arabia.
I put them as actually just completely. I put them as yellow, which is like they to be announced.
Vietnam,
in such...
no, Vietnam you have as dark blue.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're telling me to put them light blue?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to discuss this then. We can discuss this after the live stream.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll upload the new one to the server because, yeah, this is interesting.
I mean, it's debatable, but yeah, I mean, like historically speaking, other than China is the only example where this isn't true. Strong trading partners of the United States have tended to side with the West in international conflicts. So,
yeah, and also with Vietnam, one thing people make a mistake in the past 1,000 years. U.S. has had one. U.S. and France. So the West has only had 2 wars of Vietnam. China has had 27. So this is one of those things where you may think, "Oh, Vietnam is so mad at."
Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah, it's people think, "Oh, wow, Vietnam must be so mad because of the Vietnam War or the France colonies," but it's like they have way more hatred towards China. It's really? Kind of like one of those
like long and those long-standing historical I guess diplomatic arrangements between countries do matter, right?
Oh yeah.
It's sort of burned into the cultural heritage of the country, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like Canada and US. We have to hate you guys.
War of 1812, motherfucker.
Oh, that was the first example of Kansuk versus USA.
The first and only.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I think it was just Canada and UK. I don't think Australia and New Zealand were.
But I don't know about you, but I'm getting pretty tired, so we should probably.
No, I know. That's why I was actually already wrapping it up until you mentioned this little area. Either way, hopefully this a war doesn't happen, but it seems very, very likely. You have to understand the Taiwan question is a question that will be like, I think 2030 is the end of the treaty. And Andrew, I hope you and 2027 is when most highest of U.S. generals said there's going to be a conflict. And I hope Andrew you and I continue to do this until 2027. If not weekly, we do this monthly. I know I will.
I mean, I'm not making any promises, but
fair enough. I will do this. I make a promise. I will do some sort of live stream on YouTube or any website until 2030, because
it's a pretty hefty promise.
I know, but that's my point. Is that there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, do you have doubts? The Taiwan question it's one of those things that it's inevitable.
Oh, excuse me.
You know what I mean? I don't think there's ever going. The only scenario I see is if Taiwan, for whatever reason, decides to surrender and say, "You know what, China, you can have my country." Which I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
So that's the thing. So it's inevitable. This is one of those things that this will happen. Like many of my goes over. Maybe Kanzuk. I mean, I think Kanzuk will happen, but you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Kanzuk will never happen. But the Taiwan thing is one of those things that there is way too many treaties and articles and promises for Taiwan not to like. And the funny thing is, one thing I learned is when it comes to demographics, China's population has a low birth rate and a very low immigration rate. So China, in the next 10, 20 years, their population is probably going to get halved. So is a lot of countries, by the way. A lot of countries' population.
Well, very similar to Russia.
Exactly. A Russia that's half the population of today.
Right. And the reality, sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No,
but
go ahead.
The reality is that when countries are faced, especially in the 21st century, when countries are faced with demographic crises similar to this, war is an extremely likely outcome when you see that level of lowering population, general demographic problems, low birth rates, high abortion rates. Like, this is something we've seen in Russia since before the fall of the Soviet Union. And they've used military expansion in order to, I guess, stave off the threat of, this existential crisis that is their demographics, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, look at China's number 1, Russia's number 9. A Russia that becomes half is a Russia that becomes half its current population is no longer Russia. But a China that's half its population can still survive. So the difference is, this is why Putin had to do the war faster. Because if this population gets halved, it's over. There's a wait.
Russia's not necessarily on track for a halving of their population by 2030. I mean, that's very extreme. But there are. So I've looked at this. The UN has like 3 tiers, right, of looking at this. So they have the very pessimistic one, which is like 80% of their current population, like 0.8%, right? Like 100% being current population. So like 80% of what their current level is by 2030 or 2035 or something. I don't remember the exact year. And then they have like their middling ground, which is current. And then they have their optimistic, which is like 1.05 current population or whatever.
Well, what do they have on Russia? I mean, we can save the links that for the next.
Yeah, I can find the link and bring it up on the next live stream. But yeah, and then I'm sure they have similar predictions, I guess, for China.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. Look at the fertility rate. China's 1.7, Russia's 1.8. If your fertility rate is below 2, you are below replacement.
Well, meaning, right, yeah.
You need, because every family needs to have 2 for the population to go forward. Now, I know here in the West, we are not as worried about this. And
well, I mean, low birth rates is a concern for countries like Canada and the United States too, though.
I mean, yes, and whether immigration is a good thing for that is a whole different discussion. And we will touch on it. Don't worry, we're not going to avoid touchy subjects. We will talk about all these, but the point is, I don't think Canada and the US are in an existential.
Right. The podcast is called World War III, but we're not just going to talk about potential wars and
exactly
only, right?
Yeah, and also the thing is, exactly, and the thing I honestly think, I don't want to get too cliche, and maybe this is a good quote to end the stream on, is Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if it's Lincoln who said that or. Is like the biggest threat to the US, and I would put the exact same scenario for Canada as well, is each other. We're more likely to destroy each other than some foreign threat.
Sure.
Let's be honest. Come on. Like, we are so far from the Middle East and Europe that realistically, we're not going to lose to them.
I mean, I generally tend to agree. I think the biggest threat to the West is probably lack of social cohesiveness, just domestic issues, right?
Amen, amen. Because even if our thing cuts short, our migration rate cuts short, or our birth rate, we're not gonna just get invaded by some random place. Venezuela and Cuba. Like, what are they gonna do to us? Those are literally our two enemies that are in the backyard. Really, they're not gonna do anything. Okay, like,
Sure.
yeah. Now, again, these are things we have to touch. Is look, Japan and Italy, Venezuela has a very high. They're losing people.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of yearly change, Puerto Rico, these are losing a lot of people. Ukraine's losing a lot of people. And in terms of population, because of the fact that China's only 0.4%, their fertility rate is 1.7. Another reason why China is going to be the next 7 years, there's going to be an existential issue that they need to touch on.
I mean, in reality, this is the fact that low fertility rates, low birth rates, coupled with declining population and low immigration is a big concern for virtually every industrialized country in the world. It's one of the reasons why I think the 21st century will be marked by the rise of the up and coming nations, right? The rise of developing countries, because those countries have higher birth rates. They have, or they will have higher immigration rates. They'll have massive amounts of foreign investment, et cetera, et cetera. And this is something we can touch on in future live streams, but
100%, we will. Thank you everybody for watching. And we shall see the. I mean, according to this, in terms of net change, India is gaining a lot of people in terms of immigrants and babies. China is not even half that, and I think it's mainly because they have a lot of people. So obviously, Nigeria and Pakistan.
Yeah, India qualifies as one of the up and comers, but
I mean, you know what? Yeah, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
These are countries. Yeah, I do think this could be their. I don't think it's their century, but they're definitely going to be a bigger player.
Those are like the top 5, really.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, India and Nigeria are great examples. I'm not sure about Pakistan, but we can talk about that. Indonesia and Ethiopia. Don't forget, Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that's never been colonized.
Well, you need to watch What If his video on countries that will be superpowers by 2080, and Pakistan is like high on that list.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he meant India, because if India and Pakistan unite, which it seems impossible, but don't underestimate.
Well, India is also very high on the list as well.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching. We're going to update this map as much as we can, and Andrew and I have something to discuss after this stream anyway. And yeah, all these pictures shown on the live stream will be on
our Discord. We're
Amen.
now officially discord.gg/free speech now, yeah? Or are we still cancer?
Nope, we are discord.gg/free speech. And
come check it out.
Amen. Andrew, do you have any final words to say? Actually, I have one, and then if you want, you can say what. I have one from Lincoln. A house divided cannot stand. Abraham Lincoln. A house divided cannot stand.
Yeah, that is Lincoln, yeah. But no, I don't really have anything to add. Just feel free to stop by on future streams and bring your questions, and maybe we'll have you on the stream. And that would sounds like fun. So
awesome. Thank you, Andrew.
See everybody next time.